Did you want to additionally go over like how to deposit or anything, Brandon, or you want to?
Steve, you're doing great. What I wanted to do this morning is we have an agenda. We want to kind of do some stuff, but I think it's great. You're just showing flow and process, and I'd say keep going until you have to go with Santiago to do that other demo.
Okay.
Let's have you just roll for a little bit.
Well, maybe what we should do then is, because we kind of want to focus today, is focused on sales and inventory, correct? Okay, so I just want to kind of take you guys through another sales process, so we're kind of only doing a few things, and then we can leave deposits and things for later. So let's just go back to the home page. I want to, we'll just go switch corps and we'll grab another corporation so you can kind of see different looks of different ones. I just landed on high altitude bicycles, so let's go there and poke around. I haven't been in this one for a while. Again, a different logo. Again, we have the chooser. We can look in the chooser and see what we have. Looks like we have what's called a retail homepage. So this one's a little bit different than what I was showing you on the CRM. This page here is designed for, like, say this would work really well for that fireworks place that we're at as well. But for the bicycle shop, this is perfect because we have a little clock in and out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to the chooser, and I'm actually going to set this as the default. I'm going to click right here, set as default. So now that's going to be my home page for forever, or until I change it again. So on this one here, it's set up to where no matter who the user is that comes in, it's tracking their time card status. So at this point, I'm logged in as Adilas demo, and the reason I probably don't have a time card status is I might not be assigned to a department. But if I'm assigned to a department, this little message here would tell you the last time you were clocked in and out. I'm just going to go ahead and try it. Yep, sure enough, I'm not assigned to a department. So that's kind of getting into the payroll aspect. We'll kind of leave that for a little later. But what I want to emphasize is that whoever the person coming into the store, the first thing they would do is clock in, clock out right here. The next thing that they would have below is they have on this side their start new cart buttons. So they have a counter sale. Counter sale would be, I don't really know who this person is. They just came in to buy a little widget, and I'm not going to be tracking who they are. Customer invoice would allow you to add a customer to that. Quote would allow you just to give a quote to somebody, and then quote homepage is taking you to the quotes that you have initiated within the last 30 days. It'll show you those quotes. On the other side, you have customer functions. So we have the customer homepage, the receivables homepage, invoice homepage, and the classic homepage. At the bottom here is a little button that does the daily closeout. So if I click on that, what you'll see is you're going to see, I want to kind of show you first because it's going to pull today's date. Today's the 16th. And if I get the report, it's going to say there was no invoices. So nobody else has been in here playing. So I just kind of want to show you that. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do a couple invoices, and then we'll go down to this daily closeout. And that helps the counter person who has the permissions to do a deposit. It helps them to sum up how much money they're going to be depositing. It also helps them to do their over and short on their cash drawer for the day. So let's go ahead and do a couple sales. So I'm going to go to counter sale. And once again, we're in the shopping cart. I would have a barcode scanner. Let's just type in all because I really don't know what's even in this place. I think David set up most of these items in here.
Yeah,
so.
they've been in a long time.
Yeah, so it looks like we have some forks. So let's just say they wanted a set of forks and maybe they needed a flat repair. Just do those two right there. So here's our forks and our flat repair. And those are some expensive forks, David, but anyway, I'll go check out.
Carbon
fiber forks. So we'll do $300 if they paid cash. And we'll create our invoice. So this one again is set with the little miniature view over here on the side, the little 3-inch. Again, at the bottom of this invoice, you have a little disclaimer. Brandon probably put this disclaimer in. He's a big off-road bicycle rider. And at the top here, it would also show the customer name if you put a customer in here, but of course we don't have a customer. So we're going to go back again to do another customer. So click on New, takes us back into the cart. I'll just type in all again. And let's see, we'll go down to, let's do these gears. Let's just say we need a gear and a tune-up. So there we have our gear. So they were doing a tune-up and they found that the bike needed a gear. So here's the gear. It's taxable. The labor is not taxable. You could also add a bicycle to this, but I won't go through those steps. It would be that if you were keeping track of your bicycles by serialized inventory, it would be the same process that we went through to sell that airplane. Interestingly enough, there's quite a few companies that need the serialized inventory tracking, firearms, boats, motorcycles, wheelchairs, hospital beds. There's a lot of items out there that you guys might not even be aware of that actually have serial numbers on them, and they have to track those through for manufacturing warranties, and just there's all kinds of reasons for that. So then I'm going to go checkout.
Even modular homes.
Yeah, modular homes. So we'll just say this one was $100, and this time I'm going to choose a check. Actually, I'll just say they paid $97.75 in a check, and check number. Feel free to go into these play sites and play around. This is what I'm showing you through the invoicing process. This is what happens in the system the majority of the time is people create invoices. So that's what we've learned in the last 10 or 15 years, is that the invoice is the place that gets hit the most. Because you usually will bring in a lot of product on a PO, and then there'll be multiple invoices that'll sell the product, and then you'll usually have expense receipts that you're paying for all of your overhead, phone bill, light bill, rent, whatever. So then if I go back, this time instead of doing a new counter, let's just say that was my day's worth of sales. I'm just going to go back to my home page again. Now if I go to my daily closeout and I pull the report, here's our little sales for the day. We sold $830.36 in total. Here's the total with taxes, total without taxes, total taxes. And then as a group, it shows how much we sold two line items, or 2 items of forks. And I can look at that either by clicking on forks, which will show. And the reason that these are grouped together is because that is separated by what category they fall under. As an owner of the company or as a setup salesperson, you would set these different categories, like C group, oil. We can actually click and see what's under oil. So we have a Fram oil filter. So actually, you guys must have done some invoices as well too, because I didn't sell any oil. So that's kind of cool.
I did one.
Okay, thank you, Roxanne. I'm like, wow, I was busy that day. I totally didn't remember that customer. But that's okay. You also have a little mini printable view up here. So here's the day. So what I would usually do is I would print this. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on print. Brings up my little, I'm still set on my star so I can print. So now I have my other little receipt for the day. I would take this little receipt and then just to kind of show you what all I have is I've got $654.35 in cash, and I've got a check for $195.50. But what I usually teach people is they always know what they start their drawer out with. So let's say I started my drawer out with $150. At the end of the day, my drawer should contain my $150 plus $654.35 in cash, right? And plus I should have a check in there for $195. Actually, 2 checks comprised. So I could click on these. I got 2 checks in here. So both of those checks should be in there. And then what I would do is I would first of all count my $150 back in my drawer. So I'd take whatever I want out of my drawer, and that way you're putting the denomination back in the drawer that you know you need for the next day. Does that kind of make sense? So that's how I teach people. Count $150 into the drawer, and then what's remaining should be this. You should have $654.35. Now, if you're over or short, and we won't get into the deposit, but then you know exactly how much you're over and short for the day. And then on each one of those deposits, it contains a line where you can put that over and short for the day. And then at the end of 6 months or a month or the year, you can pull a little report. And this is really good for owners. You can pull a report that shows each salesperson, when they close out, if you have multiple drawers, you can actually keep an eye on how much over and short they were for that period of time. And that's very valuable. It's going to sum it up. So if they're over 20 cents one day and they're under $1 the next day, it would show 80 cents. Does that make sense? It's going to give you the summary of every time that they are over and short. And you can separate that by salesperson, so you can see that Joe is, maybe he's got a problem with his drawer. His drawer is always bleeding, and maybe Sally's drawer is perfect. So it can help you keep those people separated. But anyway, so that's kind of your invoicing and closeout. And I do want to go back to the home page again just to show you that this little view here is probably what works the best for just standard retail, where they're using a barcode scanner. So that would almost incorporate any type of a store that you would walk into, whether even
Steve,
if
is this a point of sale setup where a lot of people are using the iPads or just a point of sale? This is all touch screen right here.
Yes, yeah. These were. This was actually created. Thank you for that question, Joe. This was actually created for touchscreen interfaces. A lot of stores that you may go into, they may already even have a little POS system that's set up that's the screen's touchscreen. And what happens is the software they have is truly software. It's not a hosted solution like this. So they are usually looking for a new solution, and they can use the equipment that they have right there, or they can use a tablet, or they can use their phone. That shows up real nice on a phone. If you're, Brandon made mention that Dan and I were at a convention and the internet failed at the convention, and I actually had, this was like quite a few years ago, and I actually had a BlackBerry at the time, and I was able to go on my BlackBerry and actually do a little kind of show the customer on my phone. But this really shows up nice on a phone.
So one of the things that I wanted to comment is, like, as far as sales and POS, I've got tons of little tools. We've got barcode scanners and receipt printers. Technically, our requirements are internet connection and device, okay? And then once you want to go beyond that, you want touchscreen? No problem. Get a big old 17-inch, like whatever you want to do, like the MyCart favorites. That's a great spot for, you can actually nest buttons. Say you had like a deli with what's my desserts, what's my drinks, what's my entrees, what's my what. Say you had 4 or 5 buttons that's setting up like that. You're like, desserts. And then all of a sudden it showed pies and cakes and this. You're like, got those? And it takes you right to the advanced add to cart, slap and fire, or whatever you need to do, and you can just process right through it. What you do is you think it up. What's your flow? What's your flow? And then we try to help mimic that.
While he was saying that, I switched over to another little place site we have, and it's called Big Train Family Restaurant. And I just flipped into theirs. They have a little bit different view, Joe. This is kind of this is a little bit more complex retail dashboard, and it really centers around locations. We actually had a guy back east that they have about 33 or so bowling pro shops. One of their techie guys actually can write in Cold Fusion, so he wrote this little interface page, sent it to Brandon, and Brandon plugged it in. But they're able to change locations. It shows their default location, because when you sign in, you can set your employees up under a default location, so they don't always have to pick a location every time they come to work. It's also tracking the clock in and out. Here's another, good showing of this. So this one was actually clocked out. Wow, this guy hasn't been to work for quite a few months. The person hasn't been to work for quite a few months.
Just a play site.
What Brandon was talking about, kind of to get back there, so here's the little cart I started again, so the same look and feel on the cart. This is just a simple cart, doesn't interface with a customer. You could interface it with a customer if you wanted, but it doesn't. And then if I click on my favorites, this is what Brandon was talking about, these little buttons. And I happen to know on this one that the chicken sandwich actually has this little recipe here built. So it's defaulted to automatically give them the chicken sandwich, which over here the price is $5, and it includes the chicken breast, but they may not they may not know like what condiments they want. So here's the condiments. So if I click the little up button here, oh, that's croissant, I'm sorry. Here's the mayonnaise. Say they want mayonnaise and they want Swiss and they want some bacon on it and lettuce. You can click these little buttons and do the build, and then that just threw that into the cart. Now it's kind of interesting to see here that the chicken sandwich itself, the way this one is set up, and like I said, this gets way off into setting up buttons, which I don't know if that's going to be a topic for today because we're kind of talking about inventory and selling. But this one is set up to where the chicken sandwich is $5. Evidently, you get the chicken breast included in that price because it's $0. You also get the mayonnaise included. Swiss cheese is an upcharge. It's 50 cents extra for Swiss. And lettuce is included in your sandwich. And then bacon is another $1. So this one will be kind of interesting. So if I go to checkout here, I'm going to be $6.50 on the sandwich. So I could just say they gave me $7 and let me create the invoice. So here's my invoice over here. The way this one is set up, it does show the chicken breast, the mayo, and the lettuce at $0. You can set it up to where it will collapse the whole thing to where the invoice will just show chicken sandwich, and then maybe it shows the Swiss, or it would show the Swiss because it's 50 cents, and it would show the bacon because it's $1. Does that kind of make sense?
Hidden line items.
They're called hidden line items, and it's all part of the setup process. So if I go back and let's do another one. I'm just going to go new, and this one, that little page that you see in there, this person doesn't have their location set, or it would jump over this piece. So if you're ever working with a client and you're working with a salesperson and you see that page keeps coming up on them, take them and have them set their main location in there, and I can show you that in a little bit here. But let's go to my favorites again. And this time I want to add a drink. Now I could either barcode scan the drink or I'll just touch one button. So this button is set up to be Pepsi just automatically gets added to the cart. And Joe, this is all would be touchscreen. I have some clients that they bought for like $500 these HP touchscreen monitors that have the computer included in them for like $500. And they tilt backwards. It's almost like playing the piano the way that we need to get somebody like that brand to come and show a demo of doing invoices. They're quick. Let's just go to this menu one over here and let's see what we have over here. Oh wow, this is set up even different. So we have chicken sandwich, drinks, we have toppings. So let's play around here. I want a French fry and a hamburger. Enable, and so this is going to add both of those. So there's my Pepsi, my French fries, and my burger. So that was kind of, those buttons were like, they're just kind of what they are. Like that hamburger is that's just the way you get it. It's not have it your way. But the other one was under the favorites was like this chicken sandwich. Let's look under this classic burger and see what we have here. Oh, okay, again, under classic burger, we have, and actually, you know, Corey is the one that set all these up down in Pagosa Springs. She put all these in here for a deli that she has to show them. So this is showing a hamburger patty. Let's just say bacon and mayo and pickles, and we'll do some cheddar. And so now we have, at the top, we have our Pepsi, French fries, and a classic. So that was kind of like 2 people ordering on this. And then we have somebody who wanted kind of a build your own hamburger. And again, when you're in the cart, it's always going to show all of these lines. And I can kind of see over here under this line that all of these are going to show on the invoice. So it would say hidden over here if these were hidden line items. So again, that's just a setup thing. So let's go back to favorites, and we're going to get one more drink. We'll get some water for that person. And then we'll just go to checkout. So we'll say they gave us $15. And then there's our invoice. Again, you could have these that show 0 could actually be hidden so that it saves room on the invoice, and it also makes it look a little cleaner for the customer.
So the person in the back could actually see all the line items. I want to see all the fixings, but the person who's paying just needs to know what they're paying for. You got the chicken sandwich, you got this. In the back, you could actually expand it so you can see the whole thing. You had a question here, and it looks like Roxanne has a question as well.
Yes, Roxanne.
I just have a quick question. inside the recipes, when you look at your recipe, like for those hamburgers, what's the difference between the types of buy, build and sell, and build and hold, or build and...
Okay, that's a good question. So the question was, what are the differences between when you're actually setting up the recipes between build and hold and build and sell? And to kind of answer that, let me just go back to this. We go back to the home page here, and I actually need to go to the classic. So let me just quickly go to the chooser and just click on the classic. I'm going to go over here under assets to the recipe homepage, and this is kind of out of the scope of what we're talking about, but I think that's a great question. So here's the recipes that are currently set up in the system right now. Over here on this side right here is what Roxanne was talking about. You can see the top one says build and hold. These next ones are build and sell. Her question was, what's the difference between build and hold and build and sell? The difference is build and hold is where the system will actually manufacture the inventory for you. So this is for kits, companies that take inventory that they have, they take widget inventory, we call it, they put it together, and then that is held in inventory until it is put on an invoice. So what build and hold does is it takes items, like 3 or 4 items, puts it together into a brand new item. Build and sell does that, but it doesn't hold it in inventory. It puts it on an invoice and it's gone out the door.
It's like just-in-time invoicing. Like, say for instance, a call center in Santiago, say he has like a bunch of standard procedures, he could actually build his own recipe, and because he's not actually holding this inventory, he could pull it up so it's totally prompted. Would you like the this and this? Would you like the this and this? Would you like the this and this? Oh, okay, we'll skip that one. Okay, let's skip. Like, that's build and sell is just in time. It's just invoicing, just invoicing. The build and hold, you're doing miniature manufacturing. You're literally saying raw, creating or crunching or cooking or whatever you're doing, and then I'm going to potentially have it going out the door as something else. Something changed. It either got painted, got squeezed, got pressurized, cooked, combined, mixed, whatever. Like, you're actually doing miniature manufacturing.
Think of build and sell as like a short order cook. Okay, they got all the fixes for the hamburger in the back. At that point in time, if they choose, all that hamburger, slices of bread, lettuce, whatever, could all be in inventory. They actually could click and see exactly how much they have in inventory at the beginning of that day. As soon as that first invoice rolls in, then right away that amount would go down, whatever pieces of the puzzle that made to make that sandwich. That's build and sell, short order.
So you could say, like, they have a cheeseburger of whatever, all these different sandwiches on it down. But then this person comes in and they want a grilled cheese and it's not on the menu. They could just build and sell a grilled cheese.
Yes. Well, most of the time in a restaurant situation, it's all build and sell because they're just like short order. They don't really know what they're going to sell tomorrow. Build and hold is where, hey, you know what? I know. So let's take this scenario. Let's say we're running a little restaurant, and most of the time our recipes are build and sell. Notice on here, guess which one is the only one that's build and hold? The cherry pie. Why would we have the cherry pie as build and hold? Because we want to sell slices of that cherry pie. I'll bet you if I click on the printable of this cherry pie, it's going to tell me how many, yeah, it's making, this is 6 slices of cherry pie. This recipe builds slices of cherry pie.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah,
so the build and sell would be like, oh, Roxanne, you want a hamburger? You want guac on it? What else? Boom, boom, boom. Then it's going to take that inventory down right on the invoice. The build and hold interfaces with a PO. Okay. The PO makes the inventory go up. So if I ran this recipe right here, this recipe number 2, I would run it on a PO, and that PO would make me 6 slices of pie. What's really interesting about this, and I'm kind of getting off subject, is that you can duplicate it. So once, like let's say we're building 10 pies, all I got to do is go build prep, and it's going to ask me for a PO number, which hold on a second here. Let me just go up here, and let's go see if there is a PO in here that has the build in here already. So if this cherry pie's been built, we'll be able to see. So here's an internal build here, so let me just see if this happens to be the one. Yeah, so this PO number 4 actually created this pie. So you can see it pulled out 12 pie shells. It pulled out 6 cherry fillings, and it output 18. So this one was the recipe times 3. Okay. Once you have a PO in place, all I got to do is go up here and go duplicate PO. You see this yield multiplier? That's going to build the PO just like it is. If I wanted to, I could come up here and say, hey, let's do it twice. So now I'm going to be building 36 slices of pie. Duplicate the PO. Here's my new PO. I just, at 2 clicks of a button, built 36 slices of pie.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
That's a build and hold.
Okay.
Build and sell interfaces with an invoice. Build and hold interfaces with POs for inventory.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question, Roxanne. What was the other?
Russell had one.
Russell, yes.
Yeah, I had a question. I was just curious. So let's say I work for a restaurant and I sell X amount of hamburgers. Is there any ways to find out how many hamburgers I sell so that I know how many to buy from another company in the inventory, so that I can just select? So say somebody's telling me I should have this much hamburger, but I'm like, I don't think so. So I go pull down my list, and I'm only selling this much every single month. I'm never selling more, and so I can buy just that much so I don't extend over my budget.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 different ways that you can look at that. You can actually go to what's been sold for that time period, and depending on how you have it set up, let me show you. If I go to, and I apologize, I'm a little unfamiliar with how this interface is set up, but let me go.
Just go to the classic homepage so you know where you want.
Yeah, let me go back over here so I can kind of run around here a little bit. So if I go over to the sales reports for the day, so I'm going to sales and profit report, and there's a few ways to get here, but let me just put in a custom date range here. So I'll just put in 1/1 to, I'll put in today's date. I'll grab it. And the reason I'm doing that, Russell, is I'm just trying to pull quite a bit. So do you see where it says meats? If I click on the meats here, because you asked about hamburger, like the patty specifically, right? So I would have the patty set up in the system to where it was all by itself as one piece of the puzzle. And then I would use a build and sell, like we were just talking with Roxanne, to every time I make that hamburger, it pulls one of the patties out of inventory. So at any point in time, I should be able to look and see exactly how many I have in inventory, and I can also see how many I've sold. This is one way, and then I'll show you, depending on if the item's set up here. If I click on meats, it's going to take me to all the invoices that was sold on. So I do have hamburger patty in here as an item. But notice how it says hamburger patty, bacon, this is all the meat, chicken, right? If I go back, or I could have went to the top and clicked on grouped. But if I click on group, this is going to separate it all out. It's going to say bacon, chicken breast, so exactly here's what I had sold. So the hamburger patty, for this entire year, I've only sold 5 hamburger patties.
But it looks like you also have up a little bit, hamburgers make your own way, 7. So you actually done a 12. But
Well,
that's slightly different way they're doing it.
correct, yeah. Again, this is a play site. As Brandon pointed out, this classic hamburger made your own way. I would tend to tell you that that item might be wrongly classified because that classic hamburger would contain one of these patties. Does that make sense? So that's all in the part of the setup. Joe and I talked about that this morning. I cannot overemphasize to any rep or any business owner how important it is to get the setup correct. And if you set it up right, then you will find out exactly what you want. Because I would have the classic burgers. If that's a package, I would have that set up under another heading. I would only have the meats under here. Let's go back one and look at some of these other groups that are here. Looks like we have dairy. So let's just look at dairy and see what we have on dairy. this is probably a good setup, except for mayo and mustard. I would probably have that under condiments. Does that make sense? So if I clicked on dairy, it would just show me my cheddar cheese and my Swiss. Looks like 7 slices and 1 slice, depending on how it's set up. But yeah, great question, Russell.